welcome to Kerry L Foods. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. I'm going to spend some time doing some cooking, showing you some tricks and tips, and just talking about what it's been like to be a chef, professional chef, for a good 40 years now. Hey, some of the things that we're going to be covering here are going to go back in time to my early days as a cook when I was an apprentice at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Now, that was a long time ago. And at that time, it was all French chefs. A lot of French chefs. And eventually, when I moved up in the world, I moved to Atlanta and I worked at the Ritz-Carlton under Austrian and German chefs. So I got a lot of information in my head that I'm happy to pass on to you. Not only that, so some of the places that I've lived and worked are, of course, the San Francisco Bay Area, that's where I am now, Los Angeles area, Atlanta, Georgia. I've traveled a lot and I've done some cooking in New York City, Ireland. So I started my career when I was 19 years old and I was a young kid. I didn't have a job and I was needing a job. So I found a job in San Francisco working at a pizza joint on Castro Street called Marcello's, and that happens to still be there. That was my first really professional cooking job, if you want to call it that. I learned how to throw a pie. We had a skylight at Marcello's, and we used to try to throw the pies as high as we could, get them up into the skylight, and then catch them and lay them down, put the sauce, make the pizza. It was a lot of fun. I also grew up in sort of a restaurant family. So I had an uncle who owned a pizza place in Santa Monica. I used to spend a lot of time there. And then eventually I got an apprenticeship at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Wow, that was a big deal for me. It was really hard to get that job. I will tell you the story one day of how I did it. It's pretty funny. But there weren't any women in the kitchen back then. It was all guys. And there was a couple of women, but they did the cold food and they wore little white dresses and white shoes. They looked like nurses, which is great, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a real chef. Anyway, so I spent a few years doing that at the Beverly Hills, and then I got an opportunity to go and work at the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta, Georgia, the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead. Well, that was the corporate headquarters at the time, and it was all German and Austrian chefs, really cool food. And I learned so much there. Then I came back to California, went to work back at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and then eventually opened Checkers Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where I worked with some geniuses, including Jerry Comfort and Todd Kawachi, and a lot of fantastic, great people. And I learned even more, including a lot about butchering, because we used to buy in whole animals and break them down. And I learned a lot about butchering in that place. Then I moved up to the Bay Area, opened a bunch of places, a bunch of different restaurants, and ended up being chef de cuisine at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco, and boy, a lot of good places, and ended up opening my own place, my own restaurant in Oakland, California called Autumn Moon Cafe. And Autumn Moon was a 80-seat restaurant that had a private room upstairs, and so we had the ability to seat like 120 at once. This tiny little kitchen that really wasn't any bigger than this room right here. And we used to just pump it out, 400, 500 covers at brunch. It was intense. We got really pretty famous for all of our from-scratch cooking that we did at Autumn Moon. And the people there, they're still my heart, still my friends. We're all in touch. I talked to one of them last night. So it's like, you know, working in a restaurant can be a family affair. And it really is when you own the place. You spend a lot of time. You live there, basically. Anyway, so I went from there to the Fairmont in San Francisco. I was chef de cuisine there and executive sous chef. And I ended up spending a couple of years there. And then, weird call out of the blue, I got a call from Bruce Adels of Adels Sausage Company, and he was basically retiring. He'd been with the company. He started the company. He'd been there for a long time, and he wanted to know if I'd be interested in being the executive chef and doing new product development for Adels. And I thought, well, I've been cooking for kings and presidents for years. What are you talking about? But I went and checked it out, and turned out I loved doing manufacturing, coming up with new products and ideas, making them at benchtop. That's like doing them in your test kitchen. Then going to the plant and figuring out how to do them in bigger batches, and then running a production run, bringing it out into market, seeing how it would sell. It was really fun. And I think a goal that I had always had to bring a product to a national market. It was just a really unique experience. I spent 11 years doing that, and we grew that company to the point of where it sold to a very big company, and I decided it was time to do something else. So now I'm working for Bon Appetit Management Company at Google in Mountain View, and that is an amazing, amazing thing. Let me tell you, they're doing some great food at Google. We spend a lot of time thinking about food because we want to present really healthy, great stuff that people can eat and still feel really good. They can go back to work after lunch. They don't feel tired. They don't want to go to sleep. They want to continue on with their day. And one of the ways we do that is we incorporate a lot of vegetables, a lot of vegan recipes. And we're going to talk about how to translate something that you're used to eating as a meat recipe into a vegan or vegetarian recipe, because it is possible. You can do it. And it doesn't really take that much manipulation. What it takes is a understanding of flavor and how to achieve flavor and how to get balance out of the food that you're making. So we're going to talk a lot about that because that's where my heart is. Really, I am a Californian. I grew up in California, and I am used to beautiful seasonal fruits and vegetables. And I believe in, as much as you possibly can, eating locally, eating seasonally. It makes sense. It's less expensive to eat seasonally because if everything is in season, it costs less because there's an abundance of it on the market. So you can get, your fantastic Delta asparagus for half the price that you would pay out of season or less. We have so many great vegetables and fruits here. It's the breadbasket of the United States for sure, no question about it. So we're going to talk about using fresh fruits and vegetables, how we can reduce the constant meat consumption and get into healthful eating that makes you feel good, makes you want to get out there and run a mile. Well, maybe not me so much, because we're going to talk about desserts too, which I love. We're going to be making some interesting desserts. I am I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm pretty close. I know a lot about desserts, and I am pretty familiar with all what we think of as Americana desserts. I've got a lot of great write-ups about the desserts at Automone Cafe. You'll find out more when we get to it. So if you have any comments or questions or suggestions for new videos that I could do, please drop your comments in the comment section right down here. Let me know what you're interested in, and I will get back to you as soon as I can, promise. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. So remember, you gotta hit that notification bell if you want to find out when we post new videos, and subscribe. Little red box down there. Hit the subscribe button and you'll get a subscription. You'll find out when things are coming up, and you can jump in there, comment, and watch and learn. Hopefully learn. And we're going to just talk about all kinds of things. I'm really excited to start. So let's get going.
Bye.